Monday Mythbusters, number 2. Is it safe to sleep on your back in pregnancy? Turns out this one was not the easy one that I thought, and it's a little more complicated, and I'm going to give you the bigger conversation first. Ready? I am willing to say what apparently no one else on the internet is willing to say, what I usually tell all of my clients, but you must know the conversation behind it for it to be a remotely safe kind of conversation. I'll give you the punchline. I think it's okay to sleep on your back. I do. Now, there are studies, and you should know that I am not taking this casually. I don't mean to say this lightly. This is not just frivolous. This is a big deal, and I see people getting really nervous about it. So here's what happened. My common sense told me not an issue. It hasn't been an issue in all these years of taking care of moms. I went on the internet to find some experts to agree with me, right? How does that sound? Let's see what's out there. The women brought up the studies. Wow, no one is saying it's safe to sleep on your back. The studies are all over, but I found it very curious because most of the articles, frankly, seem to be written by AI. They were very sterile, very flat, saying exactly the same things over and over again. Found the beginning of this thread. So in 2011, it appears that that's when the first study came out. Just that recently, not that long. What's that, 12, 13 years, something like that. So that study, from what I can tell, this is just my opinion from what I could see so far. It used 159 moms who unfortunately had stillbirths in the third trimester with 300 and something control group matched. This was in New Zealand. And so it was a very small study to begin. All of these women were under medical care with the Auckland Hospital. That's how they got their records. And the way they did this study was that after the loss, several weeks later, they sent a survey to the moms and said, the last night before your baby died, what position were you when you fell asleep? That's the basis for the beginning of this story. This doesn't fit with common sense. They say that they've correlated for a number of different variables. That's good. There seems to be some connection to sometimes smaller babies. And also, it was more common with moms who only got up to go to the bathroom 1 or less times, 0 to 1 times. So I have to say, women at the end of their pregnancies who are well hydrated, well nourished, and not medicated, how many of those people sleep all night? I have to tell you that I don't have this many in all my years and decades of working. It would be an extraordinary thing, like I slept so great. It was so unusual. No one ever does it over and over again. That's a worrisome sign to me. That is a sign of concern. What's going on? Why isn't the baby big enough to be pressing on the bladder? Why isn't she hydrated enough that she needs to go? What's wrong with this picture? But that wasn't included. So it rings a bell with the common sense, and it makes me concerned. Also, there was a lot of factors that I would like to know that in what I could see online to begin, I didn't see mentioned. Maybe it's in there somewhere. I didn't see it though. I didn't see things like, are they on over-the-counter meds? You're under medical care. What medical care has been given prior to this time? In this population, this unfortunate 159, how many ultrasounds did they get? How many vaccines in pregnancy? What kind of other factors are there? Are they on antidepressants? Has their babies been growing? Have they got nutritional counseling? Have they been trying to, not gain too much weight? That kind of stuff. There are really important things that might be playing in. Here's the reason that it doesn't match up with the common sense. This is super important because this is about how we make decisions. I think the real topic here is, do the experts always know best? No. I think we do need expertise. I'm not saying that all of this always applies to all of you, but it's okay for us to use our common sense in pregnancy. We don't have to always toss our common sense in favor of something that an expert online that we don't really know, who doesn't know us, is repeating from everybody else. It's a real problem. And since people are not getting thoughtful, personalized care with thinking practitioners who are touching them and talking to them and working out on their personal stuff, people are really left grappling to just pluck from air, guess from stuff on the internet. Here's the thing that I talked to about with my moms. It is said that there are 10,000 generations of successfully birthing women behind you to be watching to this right now, especially if you're pregnant right now. 10,000 generations. That's what the story goes. In other words, there's a mom who had a baby that lived long enough to have a baby that lived long enough to have a healthy baby, that lived long enough to also have a baby. 10,000 times for you and I to be standing here. Where did those women get their information? Over time, there's some sources of information that we should not discount now. just because we have more information. And that is, what's our relationship with our body? Are we in touch? Are we allowed to tune in and see what's going on? What's our relationship with our baby? Medicine does act like the baby is just a passenger and basically non-participatory. But mothers who've had babies know that they very much are. You don't have to even be that spiritually aware to know that if you are laying in a position the baby doesn't like, they make you uncomfortable and then you move. The babies go wild, so you change your position and then they calm down. That's actually symmetry, symbiosis, having a relationship. So women got information from their babies. They got information from their bodies. And they got information from experienced mothers around them. Maybe their mothers, maybe midwives, maybe neighborly people, community people. But there was a bank of knowledge and it was okay to trust. So I'm suggesting this, that even when you go to the internet to get information, it's important to trust yourself and to use that information also. When I couldn't find information that had a common sense conversation at least about this, the meta-analysis, which they're always a little, the meta-analysis had 5 studies. This is 2019 meta-analysis. 5 studies totaling 859 women that they checked on their sleeping positions. This is not very many people. I ended up spending a whole day researching this when I thought it'd be a few minutes before doing this tape. And I ended up calling some of the midwives who have even more experience than me, people that have mentored me over time and that we go back and forth. Maybe between all the ones I talked to and me, we probably have between 10 and 15,000 births under our belt. So not a small matter. A very small number of late-term stillbirths between us. It does sometimes happen. It's a horrible thing. I know. I got the exact same answer from every single one of them. It was, some of them didn't even know about the study. What? And all of them said, anxiety and worry is not good for the baby either. How would women control how they sleep? Turned out the study, by the way, it's not so much about the position you wake up in. They at least said it may be affected by the position you go to sleep in. So if you wake up on your back, no one cares. It actually isn't that big a deal. It's literally that subtle. They all said moms should be calm and confident. What can we do to help them be reassured? It's hard enough to get sleep, and sleep is essential for them to do well and for their babies to do well. That's far more important than worrying about this. And that's kind of where I'm going to end up. I think the most important thing is to get sleep. I think it's listening to your body. If you are highly medicated, if there's lots of contaminants in your environment, I don't mean to set everybody off, but the kinds of things that I've already counseled my people about, right, are not having artificially scented candles everywhere, drenching the house in artificial scents, which affect them, to maybe not be under electric blankets. All these are subtle things that can contribute. If you have an electric blanket, don't get hysterical. I'm just saying, there are many little things that can affect the big picture, but enough water, enough salt, enough nutrition, some rest, some getting outside, some common sense. If you are on over-the-counter sleep medications, well, then maybe you do want to aim in your 3rd trimester a little bit more on your side. And left side is it. I didn't explain. The idea is that the left inferior vena cava, where blood is coming back to your heart, which would then feed your body and baby, that it can get a little compressed by the enormous weight of the baby and the pregnancy fluids and things like that if you're laying on your right side. So they wanted to suggest that you lay on your left side and not on your back. The problem is, I don't know of anybody who would choose to lay on their back for an extended period late in pregnancy or especially in labor. I've never met anybody. A lot of times they can't even breathe. They turn right over. You know who started laying on their back that became a problem? It was in the 60s when they introduced epidurals. And it took them a little while to realize that when you took away the information and the mother's ability to communicate with her baby and hear the baby's communication to her, when that communication link was broken through epidurals, which sedated and changed the hormonal cascade, then it became a problem. But I've never had anybody in active labor lay down on their back for an extended period voluntarily unless they were medicated. That's the only time. And that's why it had to become an issue. So the bottom line is, I encourage you to pay attention to your common sense. If this worries you, then get some pillows, do your best. Don't worry about what you wake up on, what side. Go to sleep on the side, on your left side, because that makes you feel more confident that you're doing that little tiny bit that you can. And don't worry about it in the first and second trimester, from what I can read and what makes sense because of the size. And mainly, experts are useful for their expertise and their contributions. However, mom's intuition, common sense, and gut relationship with her baby always has to be a part of this conversation and always a part of the reflection. Take care.